Only Murders in the Building Season 5 Episode 9 Ending Explained. This episode focused on the countdown to the move-out date following Camila buying 51% of the apartments inside the Arconia and successfully converting it into the casino she was desperate to create. The three of them confronted Randall, the doorman, who was seen on the birdwatching video picking up the elevator crank that was believed to have killed Lester. He fled and made it look like he was in Cuba, but in fact, he was hiding in the abandoned apartment 6C after escaping through the secret door used to move Nikki's body to the dry cleaners. Lester the robot, who was always recording, turned out to have captured what really happened, despite the group's initial belief that Randall was the murderer. The footage showed Lester covered in blood, saying he'd been looking the other way for far too long. This means that Lester actually killed Nikki Caccio because he didn't want crime to happen in the Arconia, which he cared deeply about. Lester had been trapped working there and wasn't allowed to leave because Nikki refused to let Randall take over the criminal operations. Nikki wouldn't let Lester retire in an Arconia apartment with his wife, which was all Lester wanted. Lester was trapped, and the only way he could get out was to kill Nikki. He did this by using a piece of the Arconia itself, the old elevator crank, which represented the building he used to love before it was made more modern. After Lester's death, Randall was caught on camera picking up the crank because he knew it had been used as a weapon. He placed it in Nikki's office to prevent anyone from thinking Lester was a murderer. Who killed Lester is the big question that follows from this. The group saw a scuff mark on the floor of Charles's apartment near the end, where the finger was taken early in the season. It was initially thought to be coming from the wheels of Lester the robot, but Howard realized it was coming from a high-quality wheelchair, something he knew from taking care of his mother. Originally suspected Sophia of killing Nikki because of her affair, but with Nona's presence, it now seems she could be the head of the family and the crime organization, holding the most power. Although Nona may not have executed Lester herself, she may have ordered it as retaliation for the death of her son. She might have run him down by the fountain, causing his fatal fall. We still don't know who is holding the finger. Except for Camila, whose left hand we haven't seen because she always wears gloves. Everyone in the family has all of their fingers. At first, I thought it might be Randall's, but I'm not so sure anymore. It's possible that Camila herself sent the Caccios to retrieve the finger. Earlier in the season, it was said that modern mobsters are billionaires, not traditional mafia types. So perhaps Camila, wielding her power, pressured the Caccios to act on her behalf. With her goal to acquire the Arconia, Lester could have been an obstacle she needed to eliminate, both for business and for love, as she was in love with Nikki. There's also the possibility that Lester wasn't murdered at all, and the twist could reveal he died of a heart attack or accident, explaining why authorities found no signs of foul play. Personally, I doubt that's the case. This show rarely takes the simple route, but anything's possible 5 seasons in. Review of the 9th episode of Only Murders in the Building, Season 5, one of the better episodes this season. I thought this one was pretty good. I was really looking forward to it because I expected it to be entirely from Lester the robot's perspective, which would have been creative, so I was a bit disappointed that it wasn't. I also wish we had seen more of Lester's recordings from before and after the murder to provide more clues. To be honest, I understand why the robot was included. It served as a plot device, but it felt unrealistic and out of place for the show. I get that Omid is quirky, but introducing a smart robot doorman pushed it a bit too far. The narratives of the main characters were handled quite well. I particularly liked how they portrayed Charles. They brought back the more grounded, vulnerable version of him we saw in the show's early days and toned down his overly silly nature from earlier in the season. Charles's tone has been inconsistent this season in comparison to Oliver and Mabel, but this episode finally brought him to life. As for the reveal that Lester killed Nikki, I thought it was clever. It clicked only moments before the show revealed it, and I liked how something as simple as the elevator crank turned out to be the key clue. Howard's story also stood out. His reflections on loneliness and belonging hit surprisingly hard, showing a more emotional side to him than usual. However, Mabel's narrative seemed contrived.